and how are things going there if you're able to?
We do, like, we print out monthly reports and I keep track of those. For me right now, it's, unless I go back and I do all of the referencing, they're just numbers until I, kind of can do that homework and compare and see how we're improving. I am doing that as part of preparation for AZA, and we've been building. To my understanding, I'd double check with our guest services manager, but that we're kind of increasing from where we were last year, which is a really good trend for us. And we're really going to hope to keep that up. And I think South America will be a big piece of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. And of course, obviously, great weather certainly helps and all of those things. It's been a relatively dry spring and all that, and weather has turned in the last few weeks. So, but Jay, let's start here this morning, my friend. I know that it's always unfortunate when we have to have these conversations about the loss of an animal within a zoo's collection, but you folks had to deal with that recently. What's going on there?
So last week we did lose Chumu. Chumu was our male DeBrazos monkey. Chumu had come to the Miller Park Zoo from San Diego in 2021, and he and the female Miwa were basically the plan was that they would be hopefully introduced for reproduction down the road and for the grand opening of this new exhibit. They had been doing well in there the whole time, although we never did actually observe reproduction. And then for the last, several weeks, we had just been seeing pieces in Chumu's health that showed us he was having a few struggles. The vets had looked at him, they checked him out. He was on a couple different medications. Some days he responded, some days he didn't. It was kind of really up and down. And then last weekend, he just sort of slowly started going downhill. He didn't want to respond to his medications. And so we had decided on Tuesday with our veterinary staff to immobilize him, to have him under anesthesia, and to try to do a full exam to see if we couldn't get at the root of what was going on. And unfortunately, he'd been experiencing serious congestive heart failure. The pleura around his heart was full of fluid, and it was really compromising his ability to function and to breathe. And he actually didn't make it through the anesthesia. The vet staff did attempt to revive him because his respiration had been compromised because of the heart condition. But we did already receive the gross necropsy reports. That's like a human autopsy, and it confirmed what the vets there saw, like under ultrasound and the like, that he had really severe congestive heart failure.
That's too bad.
He was 18 years old that we know of. He was brought into the San Diego Zoo either from the wild or as a confiscation in 2009 or whatever else. Like he was under human care for 18 recorded years, and the average or median lifespan for this species is 15. So he was a geriatric old boy.
Yeah, that's always tough. That's always tough. What was his personality like? I mean, did he engage with the folks that came by? Was he kind of a showman? What was his personality like, Jay?
He and female are both pretty. They're pretty salty. I think they were very well loved by staff. They would interact with the keepers and the staff that they knew. There was always a lot of displaying and, posturing when it came to, various things, new people around the zoo, new experiences. I mean, with these guys, that's their kind of first response is, to flare up, to display, to try and scare something off. But it was really surprising to me, Seth, because I've been doing this for 30 something years, and I've grown very attached to some of my animals over that time. And the loss is hard, but this one Chumu really had the hearts of the team here, and his caregivers really loved him. It was a really tough loss for them last week. So we were very supportive of all of the positive feedback and community support we actually got around this loss.
Yeah, no question. So now, how long had he been with the zoo, Jay?
When I checked the records, he had come to the zoo in 2021 with Miwa, the female, although she came from a different zoo, and they were here to open for the DeBrazos Plaza as a new exhibit for that grand opening.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I know I asked you this off the air, but he comes to the zoo. He's probably, he was an older male, like you mentioned. Why not let him live out his days in San Diego? Why bring him at such a advanced age for a DeBrazos monkey? Why bring him all the way to the Midwest, and all the changes that offers. How about that process? And just again, like I told you, hindsight's 2020. We could question that all day until the cows come home, but just how about that decision making process?
So when we're looking to bring any animal here, and we'll, like you say, our couple of our new South American species to begin with, particularly within AZA, but accredited and reputable zoos, everything is coordinated with other zoos very closely. And we have, under AZA, we have what are called SSPs. Those are species survival plans, and those have tags or target action groups. I know that's a lot of acronyms, but basically what it is it keeps getting narrower and narrower. So there will be a primate SSP, and then under that there will be like a small primate, maybe a DeBraza tag or a stud book, and there's experts within that group that are monitoring the genetics, they're monitoring population levels, and based on how related animals may or may not be, they make recommendations based on age and health for these potential transfers to different facilities. With us having a brand new exhibit, it would have been an excellent chance to send animals that maybe weren't fitting into a group somewhere else, were extra in another zoo because of a population explosion. It's possible, I don't know his history at San Diego, Chumu may have had a previous mate there that had died and he was solitary, and you don't ever, if you can help it, want to maintain a solitary primate. So I don't know the part of the decision-making process back then, but I do know he also wasn't showing any signs of these kind of health issues. One of the key pieces before any animal is transferred between AZA zoos, and we've just, again, gone through this a number of times with our new animals, is veterinary exams. There are significant veterinary exams and checks that both sides go through, like our zoo as a receiving end. Our vets would say, we would like you to do all these checks, all these exams. That may include even x-rays and ultrasounds. There'll be blood work for sure. And then an animal is quarantined when it gets here for a month as well, once it's passed all of those and has a health certificate. So he wouldn't have shown any of the signs, or they would have been evident in all of those really, really extensive health exams.
For sure.
So I think this is probably something that, whether it's congenital or whatever, just developed over time. But it's a pretty stringent process. It can be challenging for us when we're trying to bring in new animals sometimes, but it is a very important piece so that we know the animals are healthy and we can document that process.
Absolutely. Well, what will be the plan to get another primate in there with your current female, Jay? What's next for that exhibit?
So as challenging as it was for us that day, our curator that afternoon had already crafted an email. She let the SSP know that we had lost Chumu, and then she reached out to them and she already asked about like what our next steps will be. And so they are currently, we have submitted our information, and I think in the next week or so they have a planning meeting, and then they will look at the population, make some decisions, and then they will get back to us, because they know, and they don't want they know we don't want one, and they don't want to have a solitary primate for any length of time. So in the meantime, Miwa's getting a lot of attention from her keepers. She gets extra enrichment. We check on her even more regularly to make sure she's doing okay and has some social companionship. And then we'll just wait to hear what the AZA group says.
You beat me to the punch there a little bit. How is she doing? What's her demeanor like these days?
She seems okay. She was always been like a little bit on the spicy side. Like, she has a lot of personality. The keepers, they have been trying to do more for her. She does a lot of times have access inside right now. So even if guests were to come to the zoo, they might not see her, because just to help her through this time, she's allowed to go inside or outside, wherever she wants. You'll see there's a lot of new things for her to interact with, food devices, enrichment, again, both inside and outside, to really help give her other activities to do in case she is struggling in ways that, we really can't tell.
Sure.
They haven't reported anything, but we're making sure we can do everything we can for her.
Very good. Very good. Jay, I'll tell you what, let's take a time out here. Where do folks go to learn more about all things Miller Park Zoo?
You can go to our city website. Our Facebook page is always the best place to keep completely updated, and the Miller Park Zoological Society Facebook page and website are always good choices.
Fantastic. Jay Pratte is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. My guest on the phone this morning. More to come with Jay here on the WHOW Morning Show. WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn starting the day higher, beans lower, and wheat slightly higher. July corn 576.5, up 5.5. September corn up 4, 508 and 3/4. December new crop 512 and 3/4, up 3 and 3/4. July beans starting the day 1333, that's down 8 1/4. August beans down 7 3/4. 1267 and 3/4. November new crop 1193 1/4, down 3 3/4. July wheat 609.5, up 3 1/4. September wheat up 3 3/4, 622.5. December wheat 640, up 3 1/2. July bean meal 410.60, that's down to $1.60, and July bean oil 48.53, down 24 cents. A look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
This is Scott Baum at Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We believe in putting customers first. That's how we started, and it's why we go the extra mile for our customers. Looking for a new or used vehicle? We have transparent pricing for new and used cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. See all our pricing and pictures online at your convenience. Or come in and visit our full-service team today at Clinton or Farmer City. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, is my guest on the phone here this morning. And, you know, Jay, we talked a little bit, we've referenced it a couple of times, that South America exhibit at the Miller Park Zoo continuing on. What's the latest? What's going on here?
I am incredibly excited. The building was actually completed by the end of April. That was on schedule, on task. And so once we did the final punch list, we got the building all secured and finished up. We were able to then finish coordinating the transport to bring our new animals in. We may have an anteater and we may have a poodoo here on grounds now in that building. We also did actually at the same time bring a buddy and a wallaroo for our solitary female. So he's also in quarantine. Well, if you come to visit, anybody that's been here has seen that landscaping out there is really impressive. That team worked really hard to get all the sod down, the turf down, all the plants around. And we have, I think, probably about half of the fencing completed. We're waiting for the rest of those pickets to come in, and we'll complete that fence, and then that will make us ready for a grand opening for everyone.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be coming right around the corner, I'm sure. What's kind of the history of this exhibit, Jay? Where's it at? Talk a little bit about how long it's taken us to get here. How about some of those things?
Oh, you got some challenges. I inherited this project.
Right, yeah.
So when I actually had interviewed here, I had known that the project was in place. And actually, when I started my first day at the very end of September, beginning of October, everything had already been leveled that was there. So I've actually never seen what it looked like over there. It's across from Otters and, in between Otters, Katofer, and the current Wallaby walkthrough exhibit, that whole area that, descriptions have told me it was like, a few wire cages, like where the Pallas cat used to be. Mm-hmm. It was really heavily overgrown with trees and shrubs and bushes, and just, it wasn't a great area overall. And that was why they had sort of decided on that. This is also part of a project. There was some grant money that was brought in with this, the Ewing Foundation, the Zoological Society. They've all been part of this as a huge project for the planning, for the development of this new building and 3 new habitats. And I'll tell you, even though all I got to see was construction fence when I got here, it has just changed that side of the zoo. The whole face of the zoo has changed with the new walkways, with these 3 new exhibits, with all the greenery and how well tended it looks now. It's really amazing. I'm really excited about it that we're so close to being complete.
Sure, for sure, going to be a great addition to the zoo. And so South America, Jay, what are you going to be able to do with that exhibit? Will you be able to do special special programs, enrichment things, special messages on conservation? What does this exhibit open up for the Miller Park Zoo?
All of the above, and what it also shows people, lets people. Miller Park is a smaller zoo. We've been here in the city, and we've been limited by the space that we've had. But I think that this is showing that we can do creative and progressive use of space. So instead of little wire cages, instead of the old style of exhibits that people have expected, these are bigger, open, more natural habitats without it's a lot of fencing between people. It's a more progressive and modern design that we would hope to be able to carry this across the zoo. So not only is it still talking about the importance of conservation with the various species, and yes, we will have training demonstrations. The tortoises are moving over there. We will still have our tortoise demonstrations and tortoise feedings. But this is a bigger piece because it really helps people understand that this is the direction, that zoos should be going. You shouldn't be seeing, as many animals like stuck in cages or whatever. You are going to want to see them in more naturalistic habitats where they can, show off their wide array of the natural behaviors for each of them.
And you see that for many years, you saw that what you're talking about in the bigger zoos where they've probably got bigger budgets and that sort of thing. But it's really trickled down to, community zoos like the Miller Park Zoo, Scoville Zoo in Decatur, probably Springfield, Peoria, places like that. You're starting to see more of these kind of natural habitat type of places for these animals.
It is a good trend. It's a positive trend, particularly for animal well-being. Where it becomes challenging, people are generally supportive of it. They love these new style of exhibits. But what it means is the very old school form of zoos, the old calf houses and primate houses where it was like cage by cage by cage by cage. You saw a whole ton of animals like crammed into places and in small amounts of space, but the animals weren't having a great experience. Now what we've done is we've flipped that paradigm, and now the animals have expansive habitats, naturalistic environments, more appropriate professional care, but we have to use the space differently. We can't cram 20 species into an area now. Now we're putting maybe 2 or 3 in. So as long as, we're able to educate visitors and help them understand why they're seeing this change and why it's less animals, but they're receiving better care, then we know we're on the right path.
For sure. So looking forward to that one. Jay, let's spend a few minutes talking about our final topic today. And Brews at the Zoo comes up in June. Of course, this is one of the bigger fundraisers for the Miller Park Zoo, and your first time being a part of this. Talk to me about Brews at the Zoo.
So it is going to be this year. I guess historically it has been a 2-evening event. We're trying a new model this year. We are actually going to do it over on one day. It's going to be on Saturday, June 24th, but we're going to run it longer. We're actually going to close the zoo down early, get it set up, and then the event runs, I want to say it's either 3 till 8 or 3:30 till 8:30. That information is on Miller Park Zoological Society's website and their Facebook page, where you can also get tickets ahead of time. But we're really looking forward to it. We're looking to sell 800 or more tickets. They've already lined up. I've been able to tag in on a couple of little meetings. Their planning committee is so good. They've got a great graphic this year for the visual design. They have brought in food vendors. They've got in so many different breweries and local other vendors participating. It is going to be a great event. They're really going full force in planning, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the community.
So tell us a little bit about Brews at the Zoo. Jay, what do you know about it? What does this event look like?
Beer. It looks like beer.
Can't beat that, right?
So, all of it will be on zoo grounds. So we will have various vendors and then either tasting stations or the beer stations around. I think there's also going to be a wine station, and we're looking for, to ensure that people that aren't just beer fans, have some options too. Whole bunch of different food vendors and opportunities, and they're going to be scattered throughout the zoo. We're really going to encourage people to use as much of the zoo space as they can. We'll have a lot of staff here, both guest services. I'll be here working, but we'll have animal care staff here as well. We'll be providing animal encounters and talks and demonstrations throughout the night. And we're really going to try to make sure that it's a really great adult, full zoo experience for everybody that attends.
For sure. Is there anything unique about your encounters or the things that happen with the animals at that particular event, Jay?
So it's going to be in the evening. I'm going to leave that up to our animal care staff to volunteer. But there will probably be, for example, like otter training demonstrations where people can go and they'll be able to interact with the keepers who are training the otters and showing that science and that really intense care that goes behind managing these animals.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have something in the new South American exhibit. We'll pull something down to the area where the red wolves, red panda, and red lemurs, our red ruffed lemurs are. So we're going to have different opportunities all over, and those will be based on what the keepers want to do. It might be an enrichment event. It might be a keeper talk. It might be a training demonstration. We're not going to limit it to any one thing. We really want the keepers to have fun and be excited about what they're going to provide that night.
Gotcha. Very good. So look forward to that. Jay, how much are tickets? Is there a deadline to get those? And again, more information on that event is where?
So if you head to the Miller Park Zoo Society's Facebook page or website, you can find all of the links to this. Oh my God. I don't know offhand. I apologize. I don't know the cost of the tickets offhand. I'm madly scrolling right now to try and figure that out.
That's all right, Jay. I know, like I said, I know this is your
information. Yeah.
I know this is your first time through, so it's not a big deal.
Miller Park Zoo Societies, their Facebook page and their website has all of that information. You will see the great graphics that they had designed locally as part of that. And yeah, tickets can be purchased ahead of time. And I think possibly up to and at the door. You can purchase them up to the event, but we've already started selling. I want to say the other night they reported they've already sold over 200 tickets.
All right, very good. So that event, a big one coming up in June. Jay, just wrapping things up here this morning. Where do folks go to learn about the Miller Park Zoo and all the happenings you have going on, all the big things coming up for you? Where do they go for all that?
We do have our page on the City of Bloomington's website. As always, we're going to be the most current on the zoo's, Miller Park Zoo's Facebook page. And again, we're always supported by the Society, the Miller Park Zoological Society, through their Facebook page and their website.
That is Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. My guest on the phone. Network news on the way on the morning show.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W220.